what'd you think about the royal wedding, Dave?
I don't give a shit about the royal wedding.
Well, there you go. I don't either. It's the only reason why I have any sort of interest is because I started watching The Crown on Netflix.
Okay.
Saw a little bit of that, but
Some
other
interest
than that, my wife was watching it the other weekend, whatever it was, and I was outdoors, grilling.
Yeah, on your flat top?
On my flat top griddle.
Part of me wants... This feels so fake because the royal family doesn't really have any power. I almost like to get into a world where the royal family actually has power.
Yeah.
And there is a real monarchy that exists in the world. There was an NBC show a number of years ago, maybe 10 years ago now, that was called Kings. And it starred, what's the guy's name? He was in Deadwood.
Ian McShane?
Ian McShane.
Yeah.
He plays a king, and it's set in modern day.
Oh, interesting.
He is a king. They have, that's just the government.
Yeah.
And it's, in a way, it's like, well, what we have now is, we have elected officials, but they're all crooks and they all don't really care what we think.
Right.
And there's a king. So on the other hand, it's monarchy versus democracy. Not that I want to really debate this right now, but it makes me think of that. Like, I don't care about it, but maybe I would care if it actually meant something.
Yeah.
Because in a way, it's just these rich people getting married. Which it's just like a celebrity wedding, because I don't follow celebrity weddings. So that's sort of how I saw it.
Yeah, you're not a big celebrity gossip guy.
I am not.
Yeah, it's really, I don't get what the big deal is. Yeah, they're royal, but again, like you said, they have no power or whatsoever. It would be really cool if the king or queen could, ask for somebody's head, like on Game of Thrones style, like have that much power, or bring me their head.
Or maybe before anything happens, they have like a final like veto power or something like that, where, now the queen is just a nice old lady that just kind of sits there and everyone's just kind of waiting for her to keel over.
I know. I can't believe she's still alive. Even her husband, whatever his name is, Philip.
Yeah, she's the Elizabeth from The Crown, right?
Yeah, she is the Elizabeth from The Crown.
1940s.
Exactly. Yeah,
crazy.
It's crazy.
I mean, good for her for her longevity. But
you go, girl.
I'd like to give her a button that she could press that could send someone through a trapdoor and kill them.
Man, that's morbid.
It really is.
Yeah, her father is Colin Firth. The king who is in the King's Speech is her father, the stutterer. Did you see this King's Speech?
I did not.
Speaking of England and the royal family, though, Stanley Kubrick is American.
Yeah.
So, there's that.
That relates in no way.
But speaking of old, there we go. Speaking of old, it's the 50th anniversary this year of 2001,
crazy.
A Space Odyssey.
It's insane. We're doing this movie, and I'm thinking, is this the oldest movie we did? The answer is no. It was another Stanley Kubrick movie. We did Dr. Strangelove, which I think was 1964.
Was that the oldest, though?
Oh, I don't know. Did we do
what year did Vertigo?
Oh, that was 1960 or 59. I think, I guess maybe Vertigo's the oldest one we've done.
Yeah, but either way, I mean, two Kubrick films in the 60s, which I've always said, like, I feel like 70s movies is like as far back as I usually go, but lately I've been getting into more 60s films.
I'm thinking I'm liking
Vertigo's 1958, by the way.
They have a color palette and style that I really like.
Right, yep.
There's something, they have like clean lines and they're, I don't know, like the 70s are good, but they're very gritty in like not always a good way.
Right.
So you have that transition. I don't know. Yeah. I think we're both getting we're liking 60 era.
Yeah. The 60s area is definitely cool. It's got more of like a modern feel to it. I don't know if like today, like we're going with more 60s style and stuff. Like, like fashion comes back and like different trends come back.
Clean lines. The way people are. Yeah, this movie is 50 years old and it does not feel like it's 50 years old at all.
Yeah.
It looks like maybe from the 80s.
It's
in some just the technology,
right?
But it almost
even so. I mean,
I think I said this to you. This doesn't even feel old. It just feels like it's in an alternate universe.
Yeah, that's true.
Like this just could have been a different path that people took, and that's where they are. Like,
right? Yeah.
It doesn't seem fantastical or weird or I don't know.
Well, because all the effects are practical. Like there's no like computer. CGI whatsoever. Whereas, Star Wars came out 9 years after this, and it still looks great, but it seems a little dated. I'd say it seems more dated than this does.
In some ways,
yeah.
And I think
Which I love Star Wars. That's not a knock on Star Wars.
No, but the worst, the parts of this movie that don't look good are just mostly some of the space scenes where it's just it's a prop going. You know what it is? It's just a model that's going across. Okay, whatever. But you talk about set design. Mm-hmm. I love to talk about how great Ridley Scott is in setting up a movie and setting up the set and creating a world.
Right.
Stanley Kubrick.
I know.
It's just a master.
It's so his style, especially the scene when that one guy first gets on that space station. The doctor or whatever who Skypes his daughter.
Right.
The seats they're sitting in and stuff, like in the wide angle shot of everything.
Beautiful.
It's like when they're sitting in that waiting room or whatever. Yeah, it looks great, and it has a Stanley Kubrick feel to it, like a Clockwork Orange. It reminded me of a little. Even some Doctor Strangelove, like I saw a little bit in this, just the different shots he chose.
Well, like you think of the War Room.
Yeah, the War Room. Yeah, exactly.
Which are some of the most, even in black and white, are some of the most beautiful looking things you'll see. And a lot of this movie, oh my goodness, it's like he's shooting in HD.
Yeah, I know.
It's like crystal clear.
I don't know if this is like just we're watching remastered copies or whatever. If that's the case, then I hope they do this to so many more movies because, especially like Blade Runner or something, like to be even like because I think that has pretty good copies out, but it's not fully crystal clear. Like if they could make something like this where
the lighting too, there's a lot of white,
so
everything is like perfectly lit in this film, whereas Blade Runner everything's dark, so you lose a bit of detail in there. But this looks like like it was shot yesterday, a lot of these scenes.
Similar how I felt with Vertigo, the version I watched of Vertigo, just how great it looked. It's just incredible. But again, this is Stanley Kubrick, not Hitchcock.
We're both coming around to Kubrick.
I know. I was telling you a couple days ago that I think I'm becoming a big Kubrick fan, which is, like I said, is not a rare thing to say. But
no, we're not early to this party, but
exactly.
But I want. Well, part of in the back of my mind, I'm wondering if he actually peaked in this period. If this was actually his best filmmaking was in the '60s, and then what we got later was not as good.
Right,
and I don't know. But these are two brilliant movies, and maybe if we just keep watching, maybe we'll think they're all brilliant. I think we talked a bit on Full Metal Jacket,
which I think we've even touched on that in other shows. Yeah, just the first half is good. The second half, falls apart for me.
Yeah, I don't really even care about the second half.
Yeah, exactly. I just want to watch the drill stuff. Drill sergeant and everything like that. I do want to start looking into his other films like Barry Lyndon.
Never saw that.
Me neither. The Killing I was looking up. I hear that's great.
Never saw that.
Me neither.
You ever see Eyes Wide Shut?
No.
I saw it. I might want to revisit that one actually.
I think I've seen Clockwork Orange, I've seen this, and I've seen Strangelove, and Full Metal Jacket, and then The Shining.
Right.
So I think those are the 5.
I've actually never seen A Clockwork Orange.
Okay.
So that's one of my confessions.
Yeah, I do want to check it out again. It's definitely not easy to watch because there's some brutal stuff in it.
Yeah, that's what I hear. Yeah.
But it's good. It's got those classic shots, like I was saying, how it looked like Clockwork Orange, and some shots even in this. But yeah, I think that's one we should definitely explore sometime. But again, after watching this, it definitely wants me to check out Kubrick more. But I understand you said you've seen 2001 before.
I thought I did, and I knew the story, and I think I saw it as a kid, like an actual kid. This movie is rated G, by the way.
I know,
and I would not let my children see this.
No,
actually, there's no sex or violence, but this is not for children.
No, not at all.
It's too much.
Yeah,
it's almost too much for me.
I know
in some ways. So the beginning, like the stuff with HAL 9000 and Dave.
Mm-hmm.
I remember that and I know it, but the beginning stuff, I don't remember any of this. It was like watching it for the first time, and I wonder if it was almost. I think I saw it when I was like 8 or 9 years old. It was like on video or something. So there's no way I was able to really process this movie. So I almost consider it a first watching.
Yeah, I mean, this is definitely a first watching for me. I've seen, just clips of it. Like I was familiar with a lot of the story just from,
You can't. I mean, it's a pop culture icon.
Yeah, exactly. Like when you research movies and stuff, you watch different videos and they bring up different scenes of, different movies. And, I've seen the HAL 9000 stuff before.
Right.
But yeah, this is my first time actually sitting down and watching it.
I say the phrase blown away a lot, but I was truly blown away by this movie. It is 50 years old, and I think if I saw this 50 years ago, I would, it might have exploded my brain. It would have been, I cannot imagine seeing this movie in the theater 50 years ago.
I know. I was, in 1968, it doesn't feel like people were ready for this movie. Like, it didn't do too well at the box office initially.
Oh, no?
I guess a lot of its box office appeal was to younger teenagers who would go on psychedelics like acid and stuff. They would actually go and watch it, and that's like a lot of the because the studio wanted to pull it from the theater, and then different theater chains were saying no, the young teenagers like it because they take these psychedelics and
so this
watch
thing nearly flopped.
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Yeah. Can you imagine? I mean, it did win Oscar for best special visual effects, which how could it not? Well,
there is a critique in this film, and I think it's valid today. And I would assume then he stretches this thing out.
Yeah,
way
there's
too long.
So many scenes that are just like, this is still going on.
Yeah,
like
it's like a docking sequence or a landing sequence of a ship, and I'm like, all right. It's 2 minutes. You can do this in like 10 seconds.
Right, exactly. Even, I think it would be longer than 2 minutes. Like, I was thinking, like, some things are like 10 minutes. You could do this in 2 minutes. Like, a lot of the stuff reminded me of Interstellar, just mind-wise, but also that one docking scene in Interstellar that I talked about when I was just like, man, how long is this taking?
I got to think, well, actually, that space station sort of looked like what we saw in
you could definitely tell that Christopher Nolan got inspiration from this movie.
Without a doubt.
Well, so much sci-fi movies, in fact, had to have gotten inspiration from
Interstellar
this movie.
goes in its own path, but the themes are very similar. You get something, in 2001, you get the monolith.
Right.
In Interstellar, you get the wormholes.
Right. Yeah. Something appears.
Right.
Yeah.
And the question is, in both of these movies, who's who's giving these things? And I think in 2001, it's clear it's something else. This is some sort of alien. Right. It's not humans. It doesn't seem like.
No, it's definitely not. Yeah.
In Interstellar, I think it was clear that it was people. Mm-hmm. And in Interstellar, a lot of the themes are that the answer is inside of you. It's in your heart. It's in your belief system, that sort of thing. And that's not what we get at all in 2001. Right. So Nolan blazes his own path, but he's certainly borrowing from
absolutely.
This a lot.
And Nolan gives us more answers, I'd say, even though there's still a lot open for interpretation.
Yeah, I would say that too. And this one, so it's a 50th anniversary. It got screened. There's a 70 millimeter version that got screened at Cannes, and I think Christopher Nolan introduced it.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah. So
And then you said this is playing in select theaters.
Yeah, I guess
not around us.
Yeah, a bunch of people I follow on Twitter and stuff that live in LA have said how they went and saw this in LA, and
it must have been amazing.
And it made $200,000 this past weekend, which was the same weekend Deadpool came out and Infinity War was still in the theaters. Right. And per theater, it was the top movie of the weekend.
Really?
Yeah, per theater. But I mean, that's
something.
Like 4 theaters, but still.
Hey, if I wish it was playing around. I couldn't find a place playing around here.
Yeah, me neither.
It'd be nice.
Yeah,
I'd
definitely.
love to see this thing in the movie theater.
Because this is definitely a movie experience. This is the ultimate theater experience. Like I said, I texted it to you. This is truly a space opera. Like whenever someone described that as Star Wars as a space opera, like I still don't fully understand or comprehend it. I feel like I understand that with this movie.
I would agree 100%.
It's got the classical music.
Yeah.
Each segment of the movie starts with just this long classical music, just you're going through the motions with the characters.
And then you see how this movie has been parodied over the years.
Yeah.
This is like, the I mean, that's been parodied a million times.
Right.
The drums, it's like Spaceballs playing the drums.
Yep, exactly.
Dave going through the thing that's like when they're like, we're going to Plaid and Spaceballs. I didn't even know that's what that came from.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, I didn't realize that either. Wow. Yeah.
So it's been picked. So Spaceballs, I think, is like a 2001 and a Star Wars make fun of. So interesting
that's
bit
great.
on that. But so this movie is sort of like maybe 4 or 5 major parts. We start off. It's called The Dawn of Man.
Dawn of Man. I love that name.
And it's it feels important, right?
Yeah.
But you're in like ancient Africa, we assume.
Right,
There's monkeys, and they're like this one takes a bit of time, but I'm in it though.
Yeah, me
I'm
too.
not bored by it.
Which I think what helps with that is the beginning of the movie is just a black screen with this like ominous music playing, just like building up, just totally sets you up. I thought there was something wrong with my TV or something at first.
Where's the movie?
What's going on? Are we okay here?
Yeah. I did too, actually.
But yeah, everything was fine.
You get a bad copy here and there or something like that. But so you end up with these sort of like these warring tribes, apes, chimps, I don't know what they are.
Yeah.
One like there's like a leopard who like takes one of their young, so they're terrified, and then they're like battling over this watering hole or something, and they go back to this area, and here is this slab, this monolith as they call it. It's just like a
big rectangle,
standing black.
Yeah, and I like how he takes his time showing it to us because they like show the monkeys or apes waking up.
Yeah.
Slowly waking up. One ape sees it and he like wakes up the others, and they slowly bring it back. And I, before we get to that too, I love the shots of the savannah he's showing, like before
it's a
he shows anything,
filmmaking.
just
it's beautiful,
showing everything and the silence of nature.
Nothing,
it's just crazy. Just
maybe you hear like a bird squawk or something, and that's it.
Yeah, exactly. Like how this earth, it's just so peaceful. Like just no humans yet.
Right.
Just how peaceful it was.
I know.
And now it's just like, and gunshots. That's the sound of the world, Dave. But yeah, just I felt at peace. Is what I was trying to.
Yeah, because that's what he's showing. He's showing a world basically not without life, but before all the honking and the guns. At least they're sort of like they're really hesitant to touch this thing, and they do, and then you see the sun come over the monolith.
Such a cool shot.
And then we get to see that what we get from this is there's a monkey hanging out, and he realizes after he's touched this thing that now he's like contemplating himself within the world, and he's like surrounded by a pile of bones, picks up like a femur or something, and realizes that this is a tool.
Right.
And then so the monolith is just a spur of evolution or something like that, right?
Exactly. Yep.
So then they end up with his tribe ends up all holding these femurs and chase out. They kill another monkey. They have like a war, and that's sort of where we get to, right?
Right. Yeah.
Crazy.
And just
and this is about 20 minutes.
Yeah, 20 minutes. Yeah, at least 25 minutes.
We don't get a line of dialogue until nearly 26 minutes into this movie.
Yep. Yeah. Did you? Pause it and see me too. Yeah, as soon as I heard someone talking, I was like, "Wait, what was that? When was this?"
Yep, I have written it down over 25 minutes before dialogue.
Yep. Yeah. But still, it's so captivating with the monkeys and everything.
I'm on board, yeah.
Like it's the effects. I mean, this is right before. I think this is the same year Planet of the Apes came out.
I think these look better than Planet of the Apes.
Yeah, they look great.
Yeah. No, the Planet of the Apes, they had to like talk and they had to articulate and all that, but still.
But even the way they were like moving and walking, it's like it was
outstanding.
Yeah, exactly. But yeah, I just love the music and has these realizing this is the tool, the music is playing.
Yeah.
And then they use it against them, and then the thing throws it up in the air. That it's iconic.
Amazing.
He throws it in the air, and it turns into the satellite.
Oh, the satellite. Yeah, the ship. Yeah, exactly.
Iconic.
It's brilliant. Love it. So you get that nice transition.
Right. Yep.
And then we're in this space world that looks familiar but fantastical.
Right.
But I feel like I could step in there and be okay.
Yeah.
Although it doesn't make sense. Like, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, I know what you mean.
It's this beautiful, crazy, fantastical place, but somehow accessible.
Right, it's a space station.
Right, but he's flying on like a shuttle. It's like just almost like an airline ride.
Yeah.
He gets into the space station where it's like a circle, and it's like what is that, like Hilton Hotels and like Howard Johnson or something like that. It feels so familiar.
It's just crazy what they thought 2001 would be.
I know. God, we really dropped the ball, didn't we?
Right? Yeah, you see like a pen floating in the air, so you know it's in space and there's no gravity. And I like the touch of, there's the stewardess is walking, but they show her shoes. Yeah, grip shoes. So that was a nice little touch. Good.
Somehow they I don't know what they do, but
they grip.
They grip. But you can like walk upside down in them and do all kinds of crazy stuff.
Right. Yeah.
Pretty awesome.
Yeah, definitely.
I mean, this is I don't know. Just for me, this 20 minutes of this guy, I forget his name, because we never
Dr. Something or other.
Dr. Something. We see Dr. Something and we're like, I don't know. I'm like transfixed by all this stuff.
Right. Me too. Yeah.
I cannot get enough of it. And then he talks to a guy. They're asking him about something about it. Well, we find out that he's like a part of some government agency, whatever,
right.
and it's under some kind of secrecy, which we find out. I mean, we want to move along quickly here, right?
Yeah.
There's this object buried on the
right.
moon, which they want to go find, which turns out to be a monolith.
Yeah.
How cool is this?
When it's on the moon?
Oh my
yeah,
God,
I
that
know.
little like dugout thing he's got.
It's just,
and the music. It's like these like dueling voices.
And the effects on it.
Yeah.
Oh, the dueling voices. That is just so. I think that's what
like
they
a
were.
million voices. Almost,
I think that's what
like,
they were playing at the beginning when it was just black.
It almost sounds like buzzing bees, but it's like human voices.
Right. Yeah. It's just so like there's an eerie feeling about it.
Yeah.
Which is just it just totally sucks you in. But yeah, just the effects and everything. Just how like that. It was almost flawless, just how they were,
the world building,
the
cinematography, the acting, the play, the little movements the actors do. There's like very little dialogue in this whole movie.
Right. Yeah.
There's just not a lot of talking.
It's not needed.
No, it's not, which is great. I love not talking.
Well,
I like listening to people talk. You know what I mean? Sometimes it's just like you don't need it.
Right.
You're telling me a story and you do it visually. That's great.
And I love when I like how he's given the conference that reminded me of Dr. Strangelove right there, the wide shot of him in the conference like telling them like this is a secret. We
Those
really
white
appreciate
windows.
you. Yeah, the white windows. But I liked that just like little montage or whatever after he does the Skype call with his daughter, which that's a good prediction there. Skype call,
beautiful. A lot of wide shots in this movie.
But I love the little humor in this movie when it shows him reading instructions for the toilet.
Oh yeah,
it's instructions for the toilet. It's like
zero gravity toilet.
Yeah,
it's like how would you do this?
Right, 5 different things, and it's just like all like just paragraphs long. What?
Yeah, and they're drinking out of like. Do you get like sweet potato out of a straw?
Right.
Like,
yeah.
Oh, man, that sucks.
Yeah.
Then eventually, I think they actually get sandwiches when they get on their way to the moon, which is a nice.
Yeah. So and that's when he's talking with the other 2 astronauts about just how the secrecy of it and everything like that. So it's definitely a mystery to everything, which Kubrick definitely leaves us in the dark. Pretty much this whole movie.
You don't really know.
We're in the dark just as much as the other astronauts.
We know these monoliths do something, but we don't know what. And then they're on the moon and we have this craziness and they're approaching it. They're shooting video of it.
Yeah, and they touch it just like the apes do.
Yeah, and then we see the sun go over it just like it did on Earth millions of years ago, and there's some really loud noise that's really painful to these men, and then it cuts away.
Yep, cuts away.
Done. Don't know what happens to them.
Yep. And then 18 months later, Jupiter mission or something. They're on the Discovery, which it's called.
I have one really just weird side point.
Yeah.
When they're in the beginning part, when they're on the moon, I was confused because I think what looked like Earth doesn't look like what I think Earth looks like. It seemed more like a light blue. I don't know if this happened before we had really good pictures of Earth.
Yeah, I would think so, probably.
I don't know, but
because this is when did we land on the moon? 68 or 69?
But we were up. Yeah. We were in space taking pictures, so I don't know. But this one didn't seem like it really. Maybe that's just me, but it didn't look to me like Earth.
Yeah, I guess I didn't really think much of it. They probably just was probably the best way to practically do it. Maybe I don't know. Maybe they couldn't do it.
I don't know. Just a weird side point, but because it made me confused because they're like they're the moon. I'm like, which moon? Because that doesn't look like Earth, but it was.
Right.
So, anyways.
So yeah, then they jump to the Jupiter mission. Right after that, we have no idea what happened to the people on the moon, anything like that. It jumps to this other spaceship.
Yeah, he's doing is it Dave doing his?
Dave, I think it was Dave. But yeah, that just how they shot this, even just how he's running around, and then upside down, and then back around to the camera.
I thought at one point he was actually running backwards or something. Well, they didn't show his feet.
Yeah.
I think he might have not been running forward in some weird way.
Okay.
I don't know if I got that sense.
That makes sense.
I don't know if it makes sense, but I noticed something that are they doing a trick here where he's not actually running, or is he just jogging? I couldn't because they weren't showing his feet. There was one spot where he was doing it. Otherwise, I don't know how they did all of this. I don't know.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, I have no idea how they did this. Yeah, it's just crazy. I don't know if it's just trick photography.
That's what I think it was.
It had to have been because. Yeah. But even so, still, how did they angle it, to make it seem like he's running, basically in a full circle, but, upside down? Yeah. Just so cool.
On a wheel, like a hamster wheel. I don't know.
And then it shows them, checking out this interview that's going to happen with them in BBC.
Yeah, they're watching TV.
Yeah.
Another just more world building, more set design. They're looking at things that look like a large tablet.
Yeah. Another again, predicting
cool is this?
iPads.
I know that's really what he did.
Yeah.
He did video conferencing, and then looking at an iPad.
Right. Yeah.
It's not even I don't know that he was even trying to do that, but he did.
Right.
Great stuff.
It's just these thin things that they're watching. BBC
I don't even know how they
on.
pulled that off because they didn't look. Because obviously they didn't have flat screens then.
Right. Yeah.
So I don't know what he did.
That's crazy.
I know. The filmmaking, like you say, and everything is practical. I don't know. Were they building these massive sets? I don't know what they were doing. Crazy.
I mean, they had to have. I mean, there's no other way. I think that's just what they used to do. I mean, they use these huge spaces now just for green screen.
Yeah.
There's, if you look at the behind the scenes of Avengers and stuff, it's just these massive area, but it's all green screen.
Yeah.
It's just, I guess they used to just take the time to use that huge area for actually building real things, something. Yeah.
Now, we talk about, or I love to talk about, well, both of us really, about ambition in filmmaking. And this is maybe the most ambitious movie I've ever seen.
100%. Yeah.
I mean, this guy he's reaching really far out there. and he becomes indulgent in it as he's doing it.
He asks what I don't think enough filmmakers do today. He asks the audience to think.
Yeah.
And
really pushes that.
Right.
That he pushes your thoughts, he pushes your patience. He really is asking a lot of his audience.
Yeah, because there's so many scenes where it's just get on with it. What are you doing here? So,
well, let me just ask you this, though. Do you think that's part of that is just our 2018 sensibility? Our watching Infinity War, our watching our Deadpool 2?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think that's why attention spans have gone down in kids because
I don't have any attention. I can't even read anymore.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, especially when you have everything in front of you, you can just pull up on your phone, a video of how to do this, how to do that.
God bless all of you that have sat through this far into this show, right? I mean, it's.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm just saying it's really hard to stay engaged in one thing at any given point in time.
Definitely.
And this movie really, really stretches it, but it's so worth it. The quality is so worth it.
Yeah, I mean, I'll get to when he's stretching in a minute, but first of all, give me your thoughts on HAL 9000. Let's talk about HAL 9000, which we just did a top 5 villains episode. I think now that I've seen this, finally, I think this HAL 9000 would be in my top 5 villains.
Yeah, me too.
Douglas Rain did the voice of HAL 9000. So again, sorry to interrupt. What are your thoughts on HAL 9000?
Well, yeah, I'd agree with. I'd put him in my top 5 as well. Certainly over Tommy DeVito, which you really had a problem with.
Oh yeah,
Joe Pesci.
Yeah, what are you doing, man?
What are you doing? HAL 9000 sneaks up on you, and he's really menacing in a very quiet. I don't know. It's the voice. I think is a lot of it.
Douglas Rain did the voice,
it's very even keel, but it menacing in its own way.
It's so calm,
sort of threatening without spelling out the threat.
Right.
And we figure out kind of quickly that he's a liar.
Yep.
Wow.
What a little shit.
I know he's not supposed. I mean, he's the most advanced artificial intelligence doesn't make a mistake.
Right.
He's perfect, right?
Yep.
And as soon as he's talking to Dave, as soon as it gets a little personal for Hal about what he might be doing, what his motivations are, because it's Dave and the other guy, I don't know his name.
Dave and the other guy.
Yep. Dave and the other guy, and then there's 3 crew members who are in cryosleep.
Dave and Frank Poole.
Yeah, Frank Poole. Hal is like, so Hal is like talking to Dave about, we're on this mission, that things don't seem quite what they are. I don't understand, which we learn later that he's lying about that.
Right.
And as soon as Dave says, what are you working up a psychological profile on them? Hal all of a sudden finds a problem with the communications section of the ship.
Yeah. I think it's going to fail in 72 hours.
He doesn't want to answer Dave's question,
Right.
so he creates a problem.
Yeah.
It's just sort of how I read it, right? So
Yeah.
he's a liar. So they go and they bring this thing back. It works perfectly. Dave's testing it. Hal can't find the thing. Say, just reinstall it. Wait for it to fail again. That's a lot. I mean, he's pushing these guys.
Here's a deeper question for you. Is he lying or is he just withholding the truth? And is withholding the truth lying?
Withholding a truth that could, that affects a truth that will affect other people negatively, I call that a lie.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd say so too.
But he invents there was no problem with the communications thing.
Right. Yeah.
So that's a lie.
Which maybe. Oh, yeah.
What he's withholding is what he knows about the mission.
Yeah. So yeah, he has
that's a lie too. He's probing Dave for information.
Right.
To sense whether or not Dave is onto him.
Yeah, or that he's on to the mission. Like, is he gonna?
What about these
truly about this mission?
Yeah.
You know, because I think Hal 9000's ultimate, his priority is the mission. That's the most important thing.
Now, what's Hal's mission here? And I saw a description of this movie that it's actually a race between Dave and Hal to get to the monolith. And I didn't get that watching it. It could.
I think it's. Go ahead.
No. I mean, was Hal like trying to shut all them off? So if the monolith is something that can advance the evolution of an entity, if it can apply to a human, maybe it can apply to an artificial intelligence. And Hal wanted the monolith for himself.
Yeah,
I don't know.
That's good. Yeah, that's like to advance Hal's evolutionary.
Right.
Because obviously he's becoming more conscious and more sentient and everything like that. So yeah, that's a good point.
That wasn't obvious to me when I was watching it, but it seems clear now.
Right.
Or clearer.
I think I read something preparing for the show where someone said how the humans on the ship almost seemed more robotic than Hal. Like they weren't showing any emotion. The one guy gets like a birthday message from his parents and he's just watches it monotonely. That just doesn't show any emotion towards it. They're watching the news story of them, on BBC. They're not showing any emotion.
I read that. That's definitely a valid interpretation.
Yeah.
Now that I think of it, I read that more as just they're literally disconnected.
Yeah.
And trying to make them feel at home just doesn't work because they're not at home.
Yeah, that's true.
And the guy's talking to his parents. Happy birthday. Doesn't care. Well, because it's just talking people on an iPad.
Yeah.
It doesn't feel real anymore.
It's not the real thing. Yeah.
That's how I read it, but I could certainly see that too.
That's true. Yeah, I like your reading better. But yeah, Hal, trying to get a race between him and Dave, to get to the monolith is a good point.
It's a race that no one, Hal knows, but Dave didn't know.
Yeah, up to that point.
That's what it's going to be.
Yeah.
If that was the case, it's an interesting take.
So yeah, he, it gets him to go out to the communications thing, get it, and then you find out from the back on Earth that, hey, there's nothing wrong with this, like what's going on. So they're on to Hell at this point. So they
sense something in the way he's talking that doesn't quite seem right. Well, first of all, he's not supposed to be wrong. Mm-hmm. So that immediately raises a red flag. And then his responses to them are not quite what they expect. I don't know exactly what he says to them that triggers them. But Dave's like, hey, I got a problem in Pod C. You want to come help me out with that?
Well, let's go this way.
A little wink, wink. And, So they go in the pod and then they're like, what are we going to do about Hal? There's something wrong with him. They talk about what they may have to shut him down. And Dave's like, he's not going to like that. They realize, or they don't realize, but what the audience sees is that Hal can see through the window and he's reading their lips.
Oh yeah, such a
then-
cool shot too, because it's like silence when you see Hal's point of view, and it's just going back and
Back
forth
and
with
forth.
their lips. It's just like, oh man,
So other guy has to go put this communications thingy.
because they're like, well, let's just play along with them for now,
Right,
You know,
let's play
let's
along with them now.
go ahead and put it back.
It was functioning as far as I could tell.
Right.
And if Hal's advice to put it back, I guess, is sound. If it's going to fail, let's just wait till it fails, and then we'll go back and bring it out and fix it. So other guy goes out there, and he's very vulnerable. Next
Yeah.
thing we know, he's flying out of space.
Just like almost like a jump cut. It's just like all of a sudden he's like,
Yeah, there's like this quick like zoom into Hal, because Hal is represented by this. What do we want to call this? An eye.
yeah, this circle.
This black
With a red
circle
dot.
with a it's red and then like yellow
Yeah.
iris almost.
Yeah, I'm probably gonna order a shirt that has that now.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah,
Yeah, Hal kills this guy, right? How
Yeah.
else do we say it? And then Dave tries to go after him.
and then while Dave's going after him, he kills all the astronauts still in hibernation.
Yep, he kills all the life support systems.
Like, good
This is getting
lord.
really serious here,
Yeah.
right? Dave rushed out without his helmet. Opened the pod bay doors. Hal, Dave, I can't do that. I'm afraid I can't do that, Dave.
Oh my god, just so calmly.
We know where this. I don't know. We know where this is going. And then he hangs up on him, basically. And Dave is like, the problem for Dave is he doesn't know how to respond.
Yeah.
You can't yell at him like another person.
Yeah.
You can't be like, God damn it, Hal, open it. That's not going to work.
Right.
How do you? I almost feel like I'm reading Dave the gears churning in Dave's
Yeah,
mind.
because you're like, no, don't overreact, because
Yeah.
that's just gonna
Exactly.
that's not gonna do anything. So
No.
yeah, you're definitely you're
what
Dave
do you
at
say
that moment.
to Hal to get
Yeah.
him to cooperate with you? And it turns out nothing.
Right. Yeah. Nothing can get him to change, especially. Well, I love the ending of the conversation. Find no further purpose of, or I forget exactly what he
Yeah.
says, but there's no purpose for this conversation any longer. Like
Goodbye.
there's no, goodbye. It's just
Getting hung up by a robot.
Which I think that's how we should end the show now. Once we find that
Goodbye.
exact quote, is just there's no more use for this conversation. Goodbye.
I like that.
Yeah.
So Dave has to force his way into the ship, which
Right.
is crazy on its own. What he
Right.
has to do, and he's on a mission to shut down Hal.
Yeah. Which is cool on its own.
I thought there might be in a movie that came out and comes out, I guess past 1990, would be a sort of battle between
Right, like he would do stuff to the electronics to like
shoot out steam.
yeah, exactly, like to stop him more.
But
like
I find this more realistic.
yeah, me too. Yeah,
I like what happens here far better.
You feel the impact of it, I think, a little more, just because it's, I don't know, you're shutting down this this computer is important to the mission.
They need him,
They
right?
need him.
Yeah, so like even if we shut him down, we still need his whatever they call it, essential functions, or
Right,
something, because he's
yeah.
connected deeply into the computer. He
Right.
runs everything.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're
Whereas
talking to him like, open a door, do this, do that, and he does it.
I think it's good to keep him more robotic, because that makes him more, I don't know, just more menacing in a way, because he's not. Because I always say, like, Vito Corleone makes a great bad guy. Just you're scared of him without him ever showing an act of violence, and that's kind of how Hal is, and it's
Well, it would turn into a cartoon, I think, if he started somehow fighting back.
yeah, exactly. But I'm glad you brought up that point. Just like movies, like again from like the '90s on, like would definitely have somewhere, even like Alien.
Yeah,
those movies
It would have
like
changed what the movie is.
right.
Because the reality is what they did was they have fail safes and a lot of manual overrides. Mm-hmm. So I'm sure they thought of this. If they need to open a door, like Hal's going to lock a door and he can't get in the door. I mean, like, okay, you create a handle that you can physically open, right?
Yeah.
Something like that. Or what's he going to do? He's going to cut off the oxygen. That's not what the movie's about here.
Right, exactly.
Now what's going on, and the impact here when he's like unplugging the discs or whatever, his memory slots, whatever those are. They drag this on, and now I'm feeling bad for Hal.
I know, especially like, well, and I like how when Dave finally gets in, he's like, in a sense, saying like, whoa, let's calm down for a second here. Let's pump the brakes a little. Like that's essentially what he's saying, but he's just like, Dave, I think you should reconsider what you're doing.
He's like, I'm all better now, or roughly it's like I think my errors have been fixed.
Yeah,
Dave.
I'm good. I'm good.
Yeah. But no, it's like talking to like an alcoholic.
Yeah.
Right? He's like, no, I'm not gonna drink anymore or whatever. It's like someone they're clearly just trying to say anything they could say to get you to stop.
It's funny because what he was saying to Dave is what I thought Dave was going to start saying to Hal before you let him in. Like, all right, we're not going to do that. We're not going to shut you off. Just let me in. Like, I thought that's what he was going to say to him. So it's interesting that the AI thing is fighting for survival now. He's showing that evolutionary.
He has a consciousness. He's aware of himself and his surroundings, and he's super smart. He's a kind of a person,
right?
Yeah. But the turn he takes is not good.
Not so much. But.
I mean, it's not. I can't sympathize, or I don't even really. Why does he do what he does? I mean, exactly. I don't completely understand. We can theorize that he wants to think for himself. He's afraid that they're going to just shut him down, but it's not without cause. He's lying to them. I
mean, I think in a way, I did again read somewhere. I don't claim this to be my own, that he was not programmed, but essentially programmed to lie, which a machine that is supposed to be this most reliable machine to then be asked to lie about the mission caused him to go insane
because it conflicted with
exactly, like, so it conflicted with who he was.
So by not sharing the information about the mission to them, it made him like short circuit in a sense.
Exactly, like, or just make you again go insane. And I think that's part of the song he starts singing, Daisy Daisy, I'm half crazy, all for the love of you. So
that's deep. I totally missed that. That's a great interpretation,
which I love when he's singing that song. Not that I love,
I don't care for the song, but
no, I mean, I just love that, the filmmaking of that, just the film aspect of that, him singing the song as he's dying.
Well, it's interesting because they have some pretty intimate. It seems like they have some pretty intimate and honest conversations with one another,
right?
And I think they're probably Hal and Dave. At least Dave, he seems to have the best relationship with Dave. That they seem to have a level of intimacy. Yeah, if that's the right word.
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah, it's
comfort.
Right. Yeah. They know each other now. Like they're kind of at a, like they play chess together, and they're,
and maybe Hal just had a breakdown.
Yeah.
Interesting thought there.
Yeah. That's
what I want to say too is, from everything I understand about this movie, and I really didn't want to look up too much about it, but from what I could gather briefly,
I had to. Like, I
had to too. But from what I understand, Kubrick is purposely ambiguous, and there really are not answers to this movie,
which I can appreciate. Like I
like it more that there are.
Yeah, that's what art is letting the viewer interpret it for themselves.
Absolutely.
If it makes you feel this way, great. If it makes this guy feel a totally different way, awesome.
It's a beautiful choice with the not a lot of dialogue. It's a beautiful choice by making it purposely ambiguous. Like you said, you get out of it what you put into it. It's your own interpretation. I love that. I love that so much.
Yeah, me too.
I love that there's no answer. There's no little key that's like, oh, okay, this fits in there. The way we could talk about Hal's motivations. Mm-hmm. Why does he do what he does? And there is no clear answer. That makes it much more enjoyable to me.
Yeah, definitely. Because even movies that do give you answers, again, just the beauty of art. Even the movies that do give you answers, different people can feel different things about it.
Sometimes they're not very satisfying. Yeah, sometimes the answer that you think of in your mind just is better.
Right, but you can still come up with interpretations. Right. But a movie that doesn't give you answers and just totally leaves it up to the audience, I appreciate even more, just because it's...
Well, if done right.
Whatever.
If it's just confusing, then confusion for confusion's sake. It's a fine line to walk, and this movie walks that tightrope the whole way beautifully. Because there are some that just...
I guess there were some people who walked out of this movie. Like I don't know if it was at Cannes, if Cannes was even around then, or what. It was at some sort of festival where a bunch of people walked out just because we don't even know what it's about.
I think my dad told me he saw this in the theater and fell asleep.
Really?
Which that makes me really angry at him. As from a person to a person.
Idiot.
You spawned a child that is in love with this movie, and yet you fell asleep. You had the opportunity to see this at a theater, and you fell asleep. God damn it! But I could actually see it happening.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been sleepy at a theater. I don't know if
It's not for a casual movie fan.
No, I mean I can see kind of falling asleep there. Just like
Yeah,
honestly,
even us, who are
if I've had a long day and no one's talking and
Yeah.
it's just a spaceship flying for 10 minutes, I might go to sleep.
That's kind of how I felt when was it before the Frank got murdered?
Yeah.
When he's flying through space, like it's just him going and getting the thing, putting the thing back. It's just like taking forever.
Oh, yeah,
and
yeah.
you just hear the breathing, which I love the sound design of the breathing
Sound
and
is
everything,
great,
just
yeah.
so awesome. And then the silence of him, trying to fight for the oxygen back in his thing, but just that took forever.
It really did. Oh yeah, because he's like
And then Dave getting him back, like, and
That
pulling
took
him
even
in.
longer.
It's like, man, what's going on?
because they sort of left it a little bit not clear if he was alive or not.
Right, yeah.
mean-
It's because Dave's trying to get him back.
He's kind of know he's dead, but
Right.
you actually didn't see his face. And then when he finally gets him, he's like he's not moving. Okay,
Right.
that was his oxygen thing.
Definitely.
That's not a good design there for the suit, where it could just come unplugged.
Yeah, that's
It's a bad deal.
we're gonna have to fix that.
Something better than a hose that can
Yeah.
just come unplugged.
And I think by 2001 that was probably fixed.
I hope so. So you want to move on to the rough conclusion of this movie because
Yeah.
I mean I think Hal goes bad. Dave unplugs him. Oh, and then Dave gets a really important message, a pre-recorded message saying by now you're in the Jupiter space.
Right.
And Hal has known the whole time about what this is, which is this is a mission because, okay, so we go back to the moon, back to the beginning. This other group of characters
Right.
from an hour before, when they went to the moon, when they touched it, it sent off this massive signal to Jupiter.
Right.
And that's all it did.
Yeah.
So we're going there.
Right. So
Because-
that brought man to Jupiter.
So the question is, right, so the evolution was, and I want to, if this is how you feel about this, the monkey or chimp touched the monolith, and then it got the idea to use a tool, and that was an evolution.
Right.
So I guess, is the evolution here that we have to push to this place? We didn't gain knowledge. What we gained is a direction.
A destination.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's something to fight for, to
go after,
To go after.
a
Yeah.
quest?
Yeah, I'd say so.
Okay.
Yeah.
And by getting to that, reaching that destination that's what's needed
Right.
for that next stage of evolution.
Right.
Okay. Dave gets there by himself.
Yeah, after he disconnects Hal and everything. Yep.
Right. And then suddenly we see another monolith floating.
Just floating there. Yep.
He gets in a pod and chases after it. And then he does. What happens here?
About 25 minutes worth of acid. It looks like a kaleidoscope.
Yeah. We're going into plaid.
You're going into plaid. Yep. Just like Spaceballs. Yeah. It's just music, and we're just going through.
Those
you
shots
see
of him in the helmet.
Yes, and you see like the terrain of the Earth, but like in this like
I don't want to call it a negative.
hueish color.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's like two tones. It'd be like a blue and
Yeah.
a orange or something.
And
Crazy.
it's just going on and on and on. Yeah, I mean, I wouldn't call it a negative either. It's just it could be cut a lot.
No, I meant like I said negative.
Oh, a negative.
Photographic
Yeah.
negative. But this,
Yeah.
it's not black and white. It's like just it's sort of
Yeah.
like that though. It's like
Yeah.
yeah. But this one takes a little bit of time. But the pod ends up in a room.
Yeah, hotel room or like
This white floor. This like fluorescently lit floor.
Yep.
That's like almost like French decor. Mm-hmm. Classical French decor.
And Dave's there in his pod at first, and then he walks up to a mirror.
He's older, right?
Yeah, and then he's older.
But in the suit.
Yeah, in the suit he's older. Yep.
He's aged. Yeah.
Mhm. Yep. Then he looks over and it's him eating at a table.
Well, yeah. I mean, we stretch this out. It's at first it was just a guy with his back turned to us eating,
Yeah.
and he looks over, and hey, that's Dave.
It's almost like horror movie stuff right here. Like it's very eerie.
Incredibly eerie, incredibly confusing.
Yeah.
And then we go back to that man eating his dinner, and then it moves to a more older version of Dave,
Yeah.
laying in bed,
Laying
like
in bed.
what seems like a deathbed.
Right.
And then
So is this himself seeing all this, or is this just we're just going through time now? Like, all right, he's been in this room for this long, and he's now this old man. He's been in there for forever, or is this just Dave kind of seeing this in his mind?
Oh, well, I don't know.
Well, that's another question. Sorry.
I lean towards the second version, that he's not there for like 50 years.
Okay, like we're seeing it in real time. Like
He's evolving in his own way, I think. Mm-hmm. He's aging in this place, I guess. I think.
yeah,
because he's two people, I guess, right? He's seeing an older version of himself. And
right.
Then the Dave in the spacesuit goes away.
Yeah,
then it becomes
because you see him see himself, but then once he's that self, he looks back and that guy's not there anymore. The astronaut's not there.
He becomes an older version of himself. I don't know.
First, when he first got was going through things and you started hearing noise, I thought he was going to see the monkeys like hitting the thing, like almost like an interstellar type.
Oh, okay.
Explanation, but that obviously didn't happen.
No, that didn't happen. And then so he's on his deathbed, I guess what it looks like, and he's reaching, and there's the monolith appears at the foot of his bed.
Yep.
Holy crap! Here, what's going on?
I never thought like like this big rectangular thing could be so like have such a presence and be like, whoa, what is this?
It does.
And it almost has like a life of its own.
It's like a character in a sense.
Yeah.
I mean, because you get a sense of what the power is behind this thing.
Right.
You saw it. Mm-hmm. And then he turns into a fetus that floats into the monolith.
Yeah.
Is that what happens?
Yeah.
And then the fetus becomes back at Earth. Yeah. Big God baby floating over the earth because it's Dave.
Yeah.
It's not a baby.
Yeah.
It's clearly his face.
Yeah.
And that's the end of the movie. Did I miss anything?
No.
He's in the I don't know, the fluid and
So I mean, here's the initial interpretation I have of that. When he's going through that acid trip or whatever, at one point there's a certain image that is just like infinite space. Just what did existence begin as for me? Like I almost had this like experience myself just watching it in my own. I was just like wondering, just like if you whatever, but like
what do you mean?
If you believe in God or whatever, like. Where did he begin? Like what? Like there's just this infinite space and time.
Okay.
Like where's the beginning of the creator or God or whatever? Like it's
infinite.
Yeah,
right?
infinite.
So Dave at various stages of his life, I guess that would answer the question. It's not that he's actually aging.
Yeah.
He's just cycling through.
Right.
Because it doesn't matter, because Dave is Dave. It doesn't matter if he's young or old, I guess.
Yeah, well, that, and then also just the thought of, this infinite time and this God that's been around for
Ever.
Unfathomable.
Yeah, right.
Like, or at one point, did he just become, At what point did God just become? So I was thinking just like the baby, I guess, kind of symbolizes just man is still just a baby in this huge
is it rebirth?
Existence. That's
obvious,
yeah,
right?
Definitely.
But is the entity a symbol, or is he a god baby that floats over Earth to like impart knowledge?
I don't know. That's my initial interpretations. But just those are just some of the ideas I had. But the ultimate reason the baby is over the Earth, I have no idea.
But he's a symbol.
It just it gave me a symbol of just how mankind is still, as though it's been around since, if you count the dawn of man, that seems like millions of years ago. Mm-hmm. It's still just a baby compared to the whole universe.
Oh, okay, yeah,
in a way. That's just my initial thoughts. I know there's other things. That's not my final interpretation of it.
I don't know that there really is.
But what were your initial thoughts? What were your feelings on it?
I don't know. I mean,
it's easy to make fun of. It's easy to be like, what is this? Like, I can see that, but at the same time, I appreciate the.
Yeah, I guess I don't want to say the word rebirth, but it felt like a new dawn of man, I guess. And I don't think that. I don't know. I don't think it's God, baby. I think it's.
Every time you say that, it just makes.
No, I love the phrase. I really do.
God, baby is.
I don't think that's what it is. I think it will go. I don't know. I mean, maybe he can send a monolith back, another monolith to Earth. I don't know. It maybe has that connection. He achieves something, right? Dave does.
Yeah, definitely.
Dave achieves something greater than normal humanity. So he evolves. I think that's clear. He evolves into something greater than a human.
Definitely,
whatever that is, I don't know.
Right.
So the first monkey sort of did that.
Right.
Not that we're all going to become fetuses, but there's something there that Dave is going to teach us.
Yeah.
I don't know what that is, but I think it's certainly a sense of hope.
Yeah.
For humanity.
Yeah. Like it, even though it seems obvious, like it is the rebirth of man, like we, almost like a fresh start.
Yeah, that's how I see it. It's hopeful. It's a sense of renewal. Here's the next step.
Right. Because he could have been a man above the sky, and then, but for it to be a baby just means something about.
It's got to be good, right? Babies are good.
Yeah, babies are good.
Could be an evil god baby.
Yeah, that's true too. I don't know. That's
I don't know where we settle on it.
It just blew my mind. I mean, I don't know where to settle on it. I think
it literally just ends.
Yeah, I think if I watch this again, I could get something else out of it, and that's another beauty of this movie is just I think if I watch this again, I might get something else. If I watch it the next time, could get something else.
I like that man has to reach to their limit. To get to this thing, and we saw that in Interstellar too.
Right,
and I like that. I love that theme. I love that, like reaching your absolute maximum to the stars, and then you get this reward for doing it. I love that. I love having to, that sort of ambition in humanity and in film.
Right.
Stanley Kubrick is wow. I mean, it's a challenge, but. This is an incredible movie.
I mean, it almost seems like this could be the rebirth of film, like back then. Like he's like reforming it and saying, "All right, let's start here and go."
If if what we read is true, I mean, this was a total game changer.
Yeah,
I mean, we can't. It seems like it's almost like when you discover like a Beatles song and you're like, "Oh, this is awesome!"
Right?
And you're like, "Okay, kid." Like in 1966, everybody knew this song. You're not the first one to hear it.
Right?
Like it's. No big deal, and this is like the movie like we talk about. Oh, I know this song. I heard this parodied in a million different movies.
Exactly.
It becomes so much a part of movies, so much a part of science fiction, so much a part of ambitious filmmaking that you almost take it for granted. And then when you go experience it for the first time, you're like back to the beginning.
Right. Yeah.
When the world has already like incorporated it into what they do.
Right.
But for us, I don't care. Like I loved this movie.
Yeah, I did too. Like it's just so unique and just I can't believe I'm just now getting around to experiencing it, and that's I'm using experiencing it because I think this movie is an experience, and I think if it's ever in the theater around us, I have to go.
Absolutely going.
This is. Yeah, it's a must see.
I feel like we're being totally honest here too, in the sense where like, look, if I didn't think it was that good, we would have just said it.
Yeah, exactly.
It exceeded.
Yeah, I'm not going to say, oh, it's a classic movie.
It's a Kubrick. It's 2001. I would have been fine walking out being like, this thing was pretty good. It had its faults.
Right.
This might be like, we talked about Strangelove. Strangelove had its problems, and we talked about that. There aren't a lot of problems in this movie.
No, definitely not.
This is fantastic. I'm sorry that I waited so long to see this movie.
Yeah, me too. I mean, I guess the one thing I would ever change about it is maybe some of the scenes to cut a little bit.
This could use some editing.
Yeah.
You could edit this thing down to an hour and 40, 2 hours.
A lot of movies, I'll say that, and it's like, well, you extend those scenes to give more emotion and to give you more of an impact. Whereas this, I think you could still cut it and you'd still feel the same impact.
It's not editing for content.
Right.
It's just editing for fluff. It's editing for Kubrick's indulgences. Mm-hmm. I mean, he's like, hey, well, we got the spaceship moving. Let's throw another 30 seconds of score in here. And really see. Let's make this landing really draw this thing.
Let's just a little bit longer here.
So I think that's if there's really a flaw to this movie, it's just Kubrick's indulgence.
Right. Exactly. How would you rate it?
I'm going to give this thing 4.5 stars. I want to give it a 5th, but following up on what I just said, his indulgence, it's a legit flaw.
Right.
You need to make a timeless movie, and he does it, but he doesn't quite have a perfect timeless movie.
Yep.
Vertigo is a perfect timeless movie.
Yeah.
Okay, so there's a difference there. Popcorn wise, I'm going to give it 3 buckets of popcorn just for that reason. But I really loved it. I almost want to, I'm going to give it. What the heck? I'm just going to give it 4 buckets of popcorn just because I love it.
Nice.
I just love it.
Okay.
I really love it. And what I really like before we even get to the meat of the movie, I love the first hour.
Yeah, I know.
We get the monkeys and then the whole like moon thing.
Right. Yeah.
It's just beautiful.
It's just like
film.
way in the past to way in the future.
I know.
Even it's still future for us, just because we haven't gotten to the point of that kind of space travel.
No,
yet.
we haven't. But all of this movie is accessible. I love that. I don't know that in Kubrick's world building, his set design, the sound, his vision. Oh my God, I love this movie.
Yeah.
If this thing comes out, in the movie theater, we will be the first people to see it.
This is definitely one that
Please, someone in Tampa, put this thing out.
I know, seriously. I give this again. I had the same thing, 4.5 stars, and I give it I give it 2 buckets of popcorn again, just because it's long and it's. Not a lot of popcorn. Anyways, I'm not going to explain myself. It's 4.5 and 2 buckets of popcorn.
I threw an extra bucket in there just because I love it, and it doesn't really deserve it. Maybe I'd stick back with my original 3 buckets. But hey, I said 4, and that's it.
You said 4. Stick to it.
I'm on record. But I really loved it, though. I just loved every bit of this movie. Really, if someone could cut this thing like a 2-hour cut, this could be
golden,
a perfect film.
Definitely. But yeah, I mean that's pretty much our thoughts on it. Again, it's just I discovered Strange Love on the show because of you. Now I discovered 2001: A Space Odyssey.
I want to do more
on the
Kubrick.
show. I definitely
do more.
I mean, I'm sold on Kubrick.
He's an American treasure.
In 2018, I'm finally sold on Kubrick. This Kubrick guy. Show me more of his films.
So let's do a quick rundown here. I've got in front of me. Have you seen Lolita? I haven't.
Nope.
Have you seen? When was the last time you saw Spartacus? I'm sure you've seen it, right? I mean, at least in partials.
I've never seen Spartacus.
I've seen only pieces of it.
I'd do that. Spartacus, The Killing.
No, he didn't do AI. That's not right. Oh, did he write it? The Killing. I never saw The Killing.
Me neither.
Paths of Glory. Barry Lyndon. I don't even know what these movies are.
Barry Lyndon and Paths of Glory. I keep hearing on Twitter, like when I keep posting this Strange Love episode, people keep saying.
Oh, really?
Stuff. Yeah.
Okay, so any of these really? I mean, if you guys are listening and you have any ideas? He's only made 16 movies. That's not a lot.
Yeah.
Let's say his first one was Flying Padre, 1951 short. Another 51 short. First feature film was Killer's Kiss, 1955. Killing, 1956. Paths of Glory, 57. Spartacus, Lolita. And The Shining in 1980. He didn't make a lot of films. He made Full Metal Jacket in 1980. I see what you're doing over there. Full Metal Jacket in 87, and his last film was Eyes Wide Shut in 1999.
So he didn't make a film from
87.
Full Metal Jacket till Eyes Wide Shut?
He didn't make. So The Shining was 80. The next one was 87. And then he's like a 4 or 5 year. The guy only made 17 movies, and 3 of them were shorts.
Wow, look at that.
So that's not like. We look at it's like Clint Eastwood. Mm-hmm. Oh my God, the guy's made like 40 movies. It's like,
yeah,
I don't even remember.
It's like, Woody Allen's movie a year.
Well, I don't know.
But even like Spielberg, Scorsese, like they're like
that's not a lot of movies for a guy that started in the 50s.
Yeah, exactly. Same
40 years.
They belong in the same sentence as Kubrick, and they've made ridiculous amounts of movies. All right, folks. That's it. That's 2001: A Space Odyssey.
This is an amazing movie, and guys. Go check this thing out if you haven't seen it.
It's so good. Yeah, seriously. It's just again, I love doing this podcast just because I'm discovering not that I've discovered 2001, but
we kind of did.
I'm seeing more movies than I.
Well, this is discovery for me. I'm not ashamed to admit it, and this is fantastic. I'm not saying it because it's a Kubrick and it's a classic movie. I mean, it is what it is for a reason.
Right. Yeah.
And we discovered it freaking 50 years later.
Mind blowing.
Hey, it's Davo. I wanted to connect with Ben. We just did 2001: A Space Odyssey, an episode that is either going to connect to this or you'll just get a little bit ahead of time. This movie is really stuck with me for a few days, and I remember we were talking about the ending. I feel like we were a little bit rushed on our episode, and I wanted to just to do a little short conversation to just touch on that again, because I think Ben made a really good point that I didn't quite either grasp or have a chance to really sort of mull over, and I think I I think I completely agree with what he says on this. And this is a really interpretive movie, so there's really no right or wrong answer on this. But there's so much going on in this film from start to finish. The end is really crazy. We've got a god baby, is what I called it, floating over Earth
Yep.
on this, right? And I think really what your point was, I'm gonna hand this off to you really quick here. Don't worry. I think mostly when Dave is in the ship and he starts going into when he's chasing that monolith when they're in Jupiter and he's just sort of going off to space. And I think that's what we consider the end, right?
Right. Yeah. And I'm very wise, Dave. So that's why you really this really stuck with you.
Absolutely.
But yeah, this is something that we discussed further after this. We have even recorded, and we're like, why aren't we still recording this right now?
Right.
So here we are, a few days after we recorded that, and talking about this. But yeah, there's that scene, obviously it's it's very powerful. It's very open to interpretation.
Right.
But yeah, one of the thoughts for me was just, was it just, him being in that hotel and everything? Was it all just in his head? Was it something that he was just imagining as he was getting into that final form of becoming God baby, as we can call it?
And I think that's a really. Yeah, I think that's right. I mean, I think when you said that, I'm like, what do you mean, like, in his head? But maybe, so I think what you mean there is like when he's when his pod lands in a room with white fluorescent floors with like French furniture, he's not actually in that room physically, right? Maybe.
Right. Yep. Correct. Yeah. I mean, that's kind of what I'm leaning towards is, that he's not actually physically in that room. This is something that's, again, just
there aren't
in his head as he's going through this acid trip, that the whole audience is essentially going through.
Yeah. So there aren't like really two versions of himself at all times. There's a duality there. Actually, I just thought of that because as he gets out, there's Dave in the red suit, and then Dave sitting and eating, and then Dave in the red suit goes away. Dave sitting and eating, and then Dave in his deathbed.
Right. Yeah.
And then Dave eating goes away, and then it becomes Dave in his deathbed, and then fetus, right?
Right. Yep.
So there's always two of them. But so that's he's not actually lying in a bed, right? His pod doesn't actually go into a room, right? This is so I think that's when you say in his mind, I mean not necessarily like his imagination, but
his physical form is not there.
It's more than it's not just in his mind, but it's real.
Right. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely real. It's happening, but it's not physically happening.
Correct.
If that makes sense.
No, that's right. So it's just a little bit more than that, but it's not. But what you see on screen isn't necessarily a realistic representation of what's actually happening.
Correct.
He seems to enter this place. I don't know what I want to call it. Is it like a plane, a dimension?
Right. Yeah. Yep.
He's somewhere else. He's traveling very fast, but he seems to go somewhere else. And what his mind can interpret, maybe, is that it's in this room.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, again, this is all just our interpretation of it. But there was something that you had said though after well, I mean, what then was the epiphany you came up with after?
I thought that was that. I mean, I think I just further understood what you meant, or maybe just furthered it. Unless you were referring to something. What
I'm remembering is how you brought up that was it the essentially we think this is aliens that are making this happen, this evolutionary step or whatever. Was it them making it comfortable for him while he's on this journey to becoming this other being or this other entity, whatever it was? Yeah, that was quite an interesting point that you had brought up, which what I thought you were referring to just now. But
but I think if that's the roof of the house, we just went back to the like foundation and walls, and I think that sort of is it. Yeah, we were kind of talking around this concept, and I think we kind of ironed it out just now, right? You're like,
Right.
it's in his mind, and I'm like, I don't know, maybe it's this, and I'm like, okay, well, so it's not. It's exactly what Ben was. It's what Ben was saying. It's not. It's a representation. It's the way he can process. It's definitely aliens. I don't think it's humans.
No, yeah, definitely not. Yeah, it's not an interstellar situation or anything like that.
So it's what they think will make him. Who knows what the style is in 2001? Maybe that's what bedrooms look like, and that's
Yeah.
something to think about. You know,
mean,
maybe
it
that
almost-
looks like his room. Maybe that's his house.
It almost seemed though like like it seemed like it was way in the past almost. Like it was. It's
Well,
almost
you know,
seemed-
like things are cyclical, but yeah, I know that was definitely like some sort of a like I don't know, I don't know my fashion decor or whatever, but I'm
Yeah.
assuming that's like 1700s France or something like that, right?
Right. Mhm.
Or like in that style, whatever that. There's probably a name for it, but I don't know
Yeah,
what
exactly.
it is. But yeah, so
Something
I don't.
colonial. I don't know.
Colonial, is that it?
No, I'm just giving another example of a style.
Like classical or neoclassical or neo something or whatever. But it looks like or Victorian, right? Something like that. I don't know if that's so. Is there do we want to think about what that style might mean or not?
Yeah, I mean, I think that's definitely something to explore. Yeah, why? I mean, obviously, a lot of it is just Kubrick, and he has a specific style. But
Well, that's interesting. Though, hold on, because as you say that, yeah, he's not. Everything else we see in the movie, I think, is futuristic, but this is not, right? He's not showing you a futuristic place. He's showing you a place that has a retro feel, a history.
Right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
why? Why that, right? Yeah, I don't know.
yeah, that's the question right there. That's for sure. Yeah, I mean, yeah, just kind of bringing it back, I guess. Bringing it back to, I don't know. It's. I mean, this movie brings up so many points that it just like it's so hard to wrap your head around, but it's yet so fascinating. You know, kind of similar thoughts. You know, with Interstellar. You know, it's
In different ways, but yeah, they're unanswerable.
right.
So there is a sequel to this. There's 2010.
Mm-hmm.
Is that a movie you want to maybe do or care about? I don't know. Obviously, this one can't.
The show. It's definitely a movie I want to check out and see, possibly. But I think it goes further into the book this movie's based off of.
Okay.
And it gives further answers as to, I think, how Hal 9000, why he did what he did, things like that. But I don't know if those are answers I necessarily want or questions I necessarily want answered. You know, I
agree.
For interpretation.
So what do you think? So what does God Baby do here? Where does God Baby go? Does God Baby now have control of like a monolith? Does he send one to Earth again? What does God Baby do? Because it feels like if we're just gonna follow this out, I guess. Let's assume that we know exactly what Kubrick is thinking, and what Kubrick is thinking is that Dave doesn't actually go and walk around in a house with a white light floor. Dave is actually still in space, and he's aliens are showing him something and putting it in a way that they think that he'll understand, and maybe that's why they're showing him historical furniture, right? Because it'd be like me trying to relate to like a 7-year-old right now and all the stuff that he watches. Like my version of showing to him, he'd be like, to him it's lame. To me, I think that's what's normal or something like that. Maybe just that nuance is skipped over.
Right.
But assuming that that's true, anyways. So he's on this like plane, this dimension. So he's sort of like he's not going back to Dave in the ship, right? He's not going back to that. He can't. He's learned too much.
No, I think this is, he essentially was chosen to be this sort of vessel thing that is the next evolutionary step for man, I think is what it essentially is.
But he changes in a way much more than, say, the monkey that first touched the monolith changed. He changes into something far where, like, we didn't see the monkey transform into some other being or creature.
Yeah, I mean, mean, maybe each step, is a
greater.
further step. Yeah, is going to be greater than that initial step was. I mean, because when a monkey discovers that he can use something as a weapon, I mean, that's huge.
Yeah, of course.
Relatively, it's all relative.
That's true.
That's huge for that species. That's, a huge step for them. Whereas, man, in this movie has, almost far exceeded their expectations or their ability. So at this point, what's the next step? It's to become a giant space baby?
Oh, that's great stuff. No, you're absolutely right. Oh, this is so good. I feel like I just can talk about this movie for another hour. It's not even like in front of me.
I mean, what is your final interpretation though of the baby? I know that's the thing. I feel like we need to come to a conclusion, a consensus.
I just don't get that. I guess that was part of my last question is, what does he do? He must reveal himself to the rest of humanity, right? I mean, they're going to notice there's a thing floating up there. He's going to make a shadow. They're going to see him. Huh?
Maybe he's not visible to the naked eye. I mean, it symbolizes something. I know that, and I think maybe we already found the answer on the show we did. It's been a couple days, and my memory's a little hazy. I think we already did. Come to a conclusion. I know when I initially said that, the baby kind of represents just, where mankind is in, the scale of the universe. There's still a baby,
I think we left it as symbolism and then tried to come to some agreement so that we sounded smart, but I don't know that we really actually figured it out. But
symbolism wise, I think, that is easier than figuring out what this could actually mean for this universe in this movie.
Yeah, because I think about it's true though. We made it clear, and I think Kubrick made it clear that there is no real answer, and I think we are satisfied just by enjoying it that there isn't one, and then you can come up with your own. But I just can't help myself thinking about it though. And then I guess maybe he really wasn't a god baby that they could see, because in 2010 they would have, unless they say god baby appeared, then because they would have saw it, right?
The thing with that is, he went through this wormhole, vessel, tesseract, whatever it was, type thing. So maybe by the time he was that baby, it was so far into the future, even past 2010.
Oh,
maybe.
Yeah, time travel. That's possible. Or he was just there for a minute and then went away. Yeah, I guess there's no reason to think he's just going to hover there forever. But I guess the next step, it's not really the interpretation. The next step is really what I want to know. It's what Kubrick just leaves for us. And it's not, I guess, up to him to answer it, but he presents it to us and then goes away. So I guess I want to know, what's next. And maybe that's just the genius of the movie.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just, it's the unknowing, we don't know what's next, even.
Yeah. That wasn't the story, right? The story wasn't to tell you what's next. The story was to tell you how they got to where they did, and then that's another story.
Right.
Oh,
yeah.
Man.
I know. There's just so much to this movie. It's just so smart and so groundbreaking. Even today, seeing it for the first time, a movie that came out 50 years ago can have this much of an impact on a new viewer is quite incredible. It says a lot to the film.
Yeah. For me, I'm thinking we mentioned Vertigo in this earlier 2001 episode, and that one was a mind screw to me. And this one's a mind in a very different way.
Yeah,
because Hitchcock is playing with themes and characters and a whole different thing. Kubrick is talking about existence, the really big questions that I know I like, and I know you like too. I know you like getting into this, just contemplating this stuff. Getting something out of our little bubble and. What's possible, and ambitious filmmaking. Holy cow. This is maybe the most ambitious film ever made, I think.
No, definitely. Yeah. Again, for it to end with a god baby is quite unique and quite ambitious. But yeah, anyone who, can't try to find the symbolism, I almost pity them. It's just, try to find meaning in certain things, in art, in life, and everything, and I think that's what needs to happen.
Yeah, for sure. There's definitely a lot of great stuff in this film. A lot of really just deep questions. And they're not always going to be. If we ever get a weird answer that we're not expecting, it's not going to be an answer that's clear to us that answers every bit of what we want, right? It's never going to be completely satisfying. If like say aliens showed up tomorrow, or if like God like made himself obvious to everyone, people would still be unhappy, right? They'd still well, he didn't say this, I need to know about my whatever,
Right, exactly.
So there's always going to be that angle, and a filmmaker can only do so much too. But Kubrick, that bastard, right? I mean, what a great legacy. I mean, I want to do more of his because, like, I'm curious. Is he like the greatest director of all time?
I know. I mean,
is he? I don't know, but
it's definitely possible. I mean, just Strangelove and then 2001 alone. I mean, there's enough to put him in that category
because they're so different, right? They're not
exactly.
even that you couldn't. I mean, you get a bit in his approach to what he gets out of the actors, and I think set design is something he's really good at or pays a lot of attention to. You get like, oh, this is a beautiful film. I mean, you can actually kind of get signatures even a little bit, but yeah, I mean, a satire, a comedic satire, political satire about nuclear holocaust versus this movie that takes us God knows where, and just what people were thinking in 1968, I have no clue.
Right. Yeah, I know. It's insane. Yeah, I mean, again, to go from Strangelove to this, and yeah, I mean, then even Clockwork Orange, The Shining, Full Metal Jacket, they're all such different films. It's just crazy what a filmography this guy has. But,
maybe we'll look at his really earlier stuff just to see, because I haven't gone beyond or earlier than Strangelove.
Yeah, same here. I really want to watch. Again, I know I might have said it on the last show, but I really want to watch The Killing, just because I hear there's something about the ending, which is great. So yeah, I definitely want to check that one out. Barry Lyndon, Paths of Glory. And
he only made like a dozen films or something like that. Some like absurdly small amount of films this man directed.
Yeah, it's crazy. But yeah, 2001. I mean, it's a movie that we could another whole show on and come up with totally different things. A year. I think
we did one, so I think we just did a show.
Yeah, that's true too. Yeah. What's our timestamp right now, Mister?
We're moving on to about 20 minutes. I think we've got enough here. I think we're enough to wrap up this movie. Yeah, I really wanted to just touch base with you and touch base with everybody else about this film.
We'll just. Go ahead.
No, it's crazy. It's amazing on our first watch, and we're days away. We recorded last Thursday. This is Monday. I'm still thinking about this movie, and now the more we talk about it, the more I want to talk about it. It's just nuts.
Did you watch the ending again?
I did. I watched the ending again, actually, and I rewound. I really loved the first hour, and I got back to I forgot the guy's name, but the whole scene where he lands on that, he docks with that space station, and just sort of just talks to those people. They think it's like a violent or virulent outbreak, or like some kind of a flu or something that's made people. Remember that whole cover story. That whole conversation is like wild, intense.
Right.
You forget about all that. The way this guy's making pleasantries, and this whole side story, and just this universe that this man lives in. It's just like mind blowing on its own.
Yeah, it's crazy. Yeah, definitely want to check it out again. But yeah, we'll splice this episode right now.